Welcome to Just for Today, a time of eclectic reading, sharing of perspectives, meditation, and prayer. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader of the newly joined Centers for Spiritual Living Communities of Greater Baltimore and Columbia, with a new name, Centers for Spiritual Living Common Ground. This morning I'm reading from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And I'm reading from page 254, the very last paragraph. And here's what it offers us. There is no place in this practice for arrogance or the holier-than-thou attitude. The great have always been humble. The great have always been kind. The great have always been lovers of humanity. How do we get there? How do we get to a practice of humility, of kindness, to love all of humanity? My experience is that we get there by what my nanny, my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, what Nanny taught me was that none of us is our behavior. Whenever she had to discipline us, she started it with, "I love you." And then she would address the behavior, and she would bookend it with, "And I love you." And what she was teaching me that I didn't get until many years later is that none of us is our behavior. And I think that is, for me, has been the foundation of humility and kindness and loving humanity, is to see beyond behavior to the essence of who we are, to that spiritual truth of us, and to do that from a belief that behaviors change. Behaviors are an outpicturing of what we believe. It's an outpicturing of our woundedness oftentimes. It's an outpicturing of opportunities to heal. And so if we can, move beyond the socialized paradigm that teaches us that people are their behavior. We can look at the language that we've been taught. If somebody tells a lie, what's actually true is that's a person that told a lie. But what we're socialized to say is that they are a liar, that they are that they are a thief, that they are a criminal, rather than they are people who engaged in a behavior that is this. Because when we can free ourselves and one another from the identity of our behavior, and we can remember that our true identity is spiritual beings whose behavior reflects beliefs, then we can change. Then we can allow other people to change. We can release them from the boxes that we build and put them in that are restrictions. So that's what's alive in me in this reading this morning. So I will read this one more time and take us into our 5-minute practice of meditation, of simply being present with what is. There is no place in this practice for arrogance or the holier-than-thou attitude. The great have always been humble. The great have always been kind. The great have always been lovers of humanity. And so let's take that into our time of meditation and contemplation. And so breathing into this moment of the eternal now, the only moment that there is, I recognize that there is one power, one presence, known by many, many names. Scientifically known as the quantum field, energy. Spiritually known as spirit, the essence of all being. Religiously known as God, Buddha, Allah, Great Spirit, the Great Mystery. By whatever name we recognize it, it is beyond a finite name. It is infinite possibility, unformed and formed, seen and invisible, known in awareness and waiting to be known. It is the singular substance that is self-existent, meaning it has always existed, out of which everything is created. Consciousness itself, moving itself into greater expressions of itself, expanding its experience of itself through expression. And so I know that I am that in form, that I am the unformed substance animated in form, intentional, purposeful, one of a kind, never to be repeated desire of creation to know itself as the life that I live. And what is true of me is true of all creation. And so knowing that we are all inseparable expressions of this one, I know that we are each inseparable from one another and from the whole. And so all that it is lives, moves, and has its being in, through, and as each and every one of us. And so I claim and affirm that that humility, that kindness, that love of self, the divine self expressing as humanity, is coming into demonstration, into manifestation, into awareness, into the lives we live. That we become so aware of the truth of our being that we instantly know the truth of all being. That we live the reality that kindness toward another is kindness to the self. That love of one is love of all. That we see beyond the behaviors to the truth of being, and that we uplift that in one another. That I, as an individualized expression of this one, live in responsibility for the whole body. That I live in a way that supports the health and well-being of one body of creation, recognizing the interconnectedness. I live in a way that uplifts every expression of it. I claim and affirm that life is awakening to itself, to its magnificence, and that thoughts and beliefs are coming into alignment with the truth of being, and the evidence of that is in the behavior. Behaviors that uplift, behaviors that validate, behaviors that include, behaviors that are curious and celebrate differences. I see it. I believe it is. already present and simply coming into the awareness and activity of humanity. And so knowing that it is already complete, I celebrate. I celebrate that activity that I call law, the spiritual law of manifestation, that doer within the creative process, that impersonal mechanical operation that simply receives the desire to be and makes it so, without hesitation. Just makes it so. And so I know it's already done. That Spirit has no timeline, that it's already complete, waiting for us to recognize what is, to be the fullness that we are. And so knowing it is already done, I release. I release my word, which is the desire of creation to express. I release every doubt. I release every fear. I release any thought of limitation. I let it all go. I claim and affirm the completeness of it and live that this day. And so it is.